The 25th of July, Rabbi Levitt, Chofetz Chaim.
Okay, so we're talking here about avak rechilas. So in other words, there's really two steps over here that we're saying over here. There's two steps. The first step is that Jew number one says to Jew number two avak lashon hara about Jew number three, and then after that, the one that heard the avak lashon hara, he goes to the subject that the speaker of the avak lashon hara was talking about, and saying, "Oh, you know that Ploni told me about you. He made the following remark, blah 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 blah. You know, don't ask me about Ploni. I don't want to tell you what happened with him over there and what might happen and blah blah blah." So it insinuates that something with Ploni is shaloka hogan, is not kosher. So that is even though he didn't say anything specifically about what Ploni did or didn't do that wasn't proper. Nevertheless, this is this type of insinuating impropriety is called avak rechilas, and it's asur. Now we go to Sif base, where the Chofetz Chaim expounds upon this principle.
Are you on page 78?
98.
98. Yeah, I didn't think you were where I was the last time. 98, Sif best. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Alan, would you like to continue the reading?
Sure. So on page 98, number 2.
Yes.
Okay. Arousing feelings by praising someone in the presence of those who might react in a negative way is another example of avak rechilas. If they're working outside, so it's going to be a lot of noise. V'chein hameshebeach es echod bifnei kaveru. Furthermore, if Levi praises Ruvain, is that noise too much?
No, just go on, you're fine.
Yeah, I don't hear anything.
No, just go on, you're fine.
Okay. Furthermore, if Levi praises Ruvain in Shimon's presence, b'mor kolm she'al yedei zeh yochel v'ha'alos b'lev chaveros tara o mos o love, in a matter that may arouse resentment in Shimon's heart toward Ruvain. Va'al yedei zeh yuchal v'hisor ve'v lo ra'or, or in a manner which may lead Shimon to cause harm to Ruvain. Bichlal veik rechilus, who this also falls under the category of avak rechilas. Al kain near Eli, it therefore seems to me the yesh was a hair amil shabeach es Ruvain bifnei shemaon shu, then that Levi should refrain from praising Ruvain to his partner Shimon. Befnei Ba'alor, and from praising a woman to her husband. Uluva'ar, B'fnei Isto, or a man to his wife. Shehei Ta'ativ Imo, Alo, or fighting alone that the partner spouse granted him, Bina Sinas, Tzedakah, or Tzedakah that he gave him, over Shilum, Sechor, Sechar, Zochi, she lame low, Baru, recall, say, was that, or the substantial wages that he paid him, or the like, Ki, or Matsui, who al Yidei Zeh, for it's common that because of such comments, Lahalos Tar, O Mes Belev, Shimon al, Shetor Po, Ruvain, Shimon will come to harbor resentment of his partner Ruvain for his generosity. Or Mim Subas Gam King Al Yidezeh Lira Uvain Ezek Al Mafo Kes. At times, this could even cause harm to Ruvain, or it could lead to a quarrel between them. Became Isha Al Bala or Al Ishato, and the same applies to a woman who hears about her husband's generosity, or a husband who hears about his wife's generosity. Also, Bo he who Pizer S no Bavata court. So, for Shimon may think that Reuben squandered money due to his overly magnanimous nature.
Okay.
Oh, there's one more line there. It says, telling a person that you heard about a favor he did for someone else can also constitute avat rechilas.
That's to do with the next one.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
But
Imo.
there's a scenario you can read. Alan, you want to?
Scenario B, wealthy Mrs. Berenstein is nervous to part with her money. Her husband handles all the tzedakah and support for their married children. Mrs. Berenstein's daughter-in-law, unaware of the politics, thanks her profusely for paying for the baby's kiddush, because the information causes Mrs. Berenstein to upset her husband. It is avat rechilas.
So it's a scenario where the information is being given in front of right. In other words, what would be the way? Don't think that you shouldn't be allowed to express appreciation to a person, but do it not in earshot of anybody else. The problem, as I understand it over here, was that the daughter-in-law thanked for the generosity in front of somebody who would be in a position to have some jealousy or some other type of a thing because of that generosity. But if she would just have said it to the one who gave it directly and not to anybody else, nobody was in earshot. So then we don't have any problem of avak rechilas, as I understand it.
I see this differently. I see that the daughter-in-law, the new daughter-in-law, didn't know that the husband handles everything, and that Mrs. Berenstein is a bit tight-fisted. And so when the daughter-in-law thought that Mrs. Berenstein, her mother-in-law, her new mother-in-law, had paid for it, handled the money for the kiddush. So when she said thank you, she said thank you to the wrong person without knowing it.
Oh, okay. So that's another example. Don't thank the wrong person.
But he didn't know. She had no idea.
She thought she was thanking the person who gave her the money.
Yes, she didn't know that Mrs. Berenstein had nothing to do with it.
Uh-huh.
So that's
You mean the husband, Mr. Berenstein, was the one that had extended the generosity?
yes.
Oh, and she didn't realize that.
No.
So even though she didn't realize that, wow, so you really have to be careful. In other words, right, unless you know in other words, she would have to know that it was that it was Mr. and not Mrs. that was the one who paid for the kiddush.
Mm.
And if she doesn't know, she should find out who exactly it was. In other words, she didn't receive the money. Her husband received the money. She's just the daughter-in-law. So the father gave it to the son, I guess. And so the daughter-in-law is thanking the mother-in-law. That's what's happening?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
If you read it, you'll see that's close,
Okay.
Close to it.
Okay. So she was, in other words, assuming that the mother-in-law was totally in favor and on board with the generosity.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to thank her, maybe even because she didn't want to speak to her father-in-law. It's more comfortable to speak to her mother-in-law, one woman to another woman. But she got herself in trouble.
Mm.
Wow. It's quite interesting. See how careful you have to be. Wow. Okay. Very good. Okay, so all right. This is called Avak Rechilis. Okay. Very good. So let's go to the next one. Gimel. Kain Yeshli Zaher. Mayor, would you like to continue?
Okay, will do. Okay. Very good. It says disclosing a favor. Telling a person that you heard about a favor he did for someone else can also constitute avak rechilut. V'chein yesh li zaher. One should also be careful to avoid avak rechilus in the following situation. Kishem me'et chavero sheyetiv amo be'ezeh davar. If Reuven asked Shimon for a favor with regard to some matter, v'hu mishivo she'eno yachol l'malot bakashato bazeh. And Shimon responds that he is unable to fill the request. Shelo yishalenu. Reuven should not then ask Shimon Lama asita tova zo liploni. Why then did you do this same favor for Levi? I know you did not. You did this favor for Levi. Shehu be'atzmosi per li et hadavar, because Levi himself told me about it. Ki matsui hu ayidei davar bazeh gam kain. Such a statement is forbidden, since it is common that as a result of such a statement, l'halot tar omet b'lev chaveiro al oto ploni. Shimon may come to harbor resentment toward Levi. Al shegila et hadavar l'anashim, for revealing this matter to other people. Ve'no yachol lehishamesh atzmo mehem. Because now that others know about the favor, you will not be able to evade similar requests from them.
Mhm.
So Jew number one did a favor for Jew number two, and then Jew number two mentioned to Jew number three that Jew number one did a favor for him. And so
Right.
Jew number three says, aha, now I know where I can get my loan from. And he goes directly to Jew number one and said, can I have $1,000, please, loan? And he says, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. So then he says, oh, why did you do it for Jew number two? He told, and I know for a fact that he did it, that you did it for him because he told me himself that he got a $1,000 loan from you.
Uh-huh.
I see. Okay. Very good. Very clear. I mean, the Chofetz Chaim is giving very clear examples of what it is that he's talking about. So we know we could, the art scroll, I guess, doesn't have to say an example over here. They don't have an example case, I would imagine.
They do.
Oh,
they
actually,
do?
there's a scenario C down below. Let me just read this. As a policy, Nechama does not take passengers with her on her commute to work. She agrees to drive Sarah when Sarah's car needs repair. Sarah tells Miriam that Nechama drove her. Then Miriam confronts Nechama with this information and asks why she too cannot get a ride. Miriam is speaking avak rechilu because she is possibly causing Nechama to become upset with Sarah for sharing the information.
Okay, good. And now we go to Lou, please. Can you read for us, Lou?
Yes.
Baruch Hashem. Sif Daled.
Sif Daled. Another example of avak rechilas is where some people may be slightly offended by the statement. Od yesh divarim. There are other statements. Shehain asurin mitam avak rechilas. They are prohibited due to avak rechilas as well. Kigon im ma she me saper lo ma she amar poloni alav. For example, if Reuven repeats to Shimon a comment that Levi said about Shimon, Eino devar ganai, which is not derogatory per se, rak devar she de derech b'nei adam lahak pid kitzas ke she omrim lo bifanav. but it is a type of comment that people find slightly offensive when it is said in their presence. That too is considered avak rechilas. There's a footnote.
Yeah, what's the,
This law is inferred from Yerushalmi, which says that a certain episode involving Abraham and Sarah demonstrates the severity of avak rechilas. On hearing that she and Abraham would have a son at long last, Sarah responded, "How can I bear a child when my husband is old?" Although her words were not intended to be derogatory, nevertheless, relating such a statement to Abraham might have caused him to be slightly offended. For this reason, when Hashem repeated her words to Abraham, he quoted her saying, "How can I bear a child when I am old?" Now, seemingly, Hashem should have relayed Sarah's comment to
Would
Abraham.
not. Now, seemingly Hashem should not have relayed.
Now, seemingly, Hashem should not have relayed Sarah's comment to Abraham altogether. Why instead did Hashem repeat it to Abraham and alter it? Al-Sheikh explains that Hashem did so as a rebuke to Abraham himself. For Sarah's comment demonstrated that even Abraham's faith was somehow imperfect. Otherwise, his wife would never have uttered her comment. I never heard that before.
what? I didn't understand that.
The first comment demonstrating Avram's faith was
In other words, it seems like Sarah was thinking that Abraham might be incredulous about her giving birth when she was old. So Hashem was hinting to Abraham that he was in some way, I guess, at least partially responsible for Sarah's lack of faith in him. Says see scenario D and E. Should I read them?
Yeah, I like the question. I never heard the question being expressed because I assumed everybody was afraid to say such a question about Hashem. but the Yerushalmi asked the question.
Yeah. Alex's sons, Michael and Gabriel, plan a hiking trip. Gabriel says their father, an avid hiker, is too old for their rugged itinerary. After the trip, the father sees the photos and mentions that he could no longer excuse me. He could no longer do such a hike. When Michael comments that Gabriel had said the same thing about him, he's speaking of avak rechilas. Because although being older is not negative, the comment is slightly offensive. In other words, even though the father says, "I couldn't do such a trip," nevertheless, he shouldn't say that the son said that maybe he couldn't do the trip. I'm trying to figure out how that relates to our case of Abraham. Even though Abraham might say, "Amazing, Sarah is so old," nevertheless, no, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure I understand how scenario D relates to our case. I'll read E. Shimon was recently laid off from his job.
Yeah.
Tells Levi about this development. Levi shares this information with Reuven. Reuven should refrain from mentioning to Shimon that he heard about his predicament from Levi. Although Levi did not disparage Shimon, his unemployment status may be something that Shimon is sensitive to. And he might be offended that Levi shared that information.
Right. That's very understandable. Okay. Okay. Right. Uh-huh. And even if the one that lost his job and who's confiding in the Jew number two that he was fired, and even if he didn't say, and please don't tell anybody about this. I'm just telling you, I don't want this to spread around that I lost my job. It should be self-understandable to Jew number two that it's not something that Jew number one would like to have spread around, and therefore, oh, so okay. So in other words, what has to happen here is that Jew number two is gonna relate to Jew number three that Jew number one lost his job, and now Jew number three is going to comment to Jew number one how Jew number two told him, Jew number three, that Jew number one lost his job, and so that is going to create ill feelings between and embarrassment, I guess, and being particular by Jew number one, because he doesn't. It's a bit embarrassing for him that now that Jew number three knows about this, that he lost his job.
I used to get into arguments with people about this because I maintained that it was a common practice in our community in Santa Monica. We were an outreach community, and people did a lot of hosting on Shabbos, and quite often you would host somebody that you didn't know too well, somebody that was referred to you by the mashgiach of the shul, and so it was a very common practice to, as you're sitting at the Shabbos table, to say, hi, nice to meet you. What do you do for a living?
Right.
I maintained that was an improper question because maybe he's not employed.
Could make him feel bad.
Maybe he's embarrassed about that.
Yeah.
And I had many people argue with me and tell me, oh, that's ridiculous. And you're just trying to find out about him, and you're trying to make him feel good about, the fact that you care about who he is. And
no, you're definitely right. They're wrong. There's no question, no doubt about it.
I would never, when I met someone, I would never say to him, what do you do for a living? Or a lot of those questions, I would never ask those questions.
Yeah. Right.
If somebody said to me, I might say, what brings you to California? What brings you to Santa Monica? And if he said, oh, well, it was my job, then I might say, oh, what do you do? Because he broached the subject of the job. So I'm pretty confident he's not going to be embarrassed about it, because he probably wouldn't have mentioned it if he was embarrassed about it.
Right. He would tell you some other reason why he came. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
But
sure.
I would never ask him, what do you do? What do you do for a living?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Wow.
That happened to me a lot in my travels, because every once in a while I'd have to spend Shabbos, because of my travels on location someplace, and inevitably, like what Lou said, they say, "Well, what brings you here?" And then I tell them my job, and then if they ask me what I do, I tell them,
Right. Yeah. I think that's a fair way to approach it.
Right.
You do want to have a conversation with them, and you do want to make them feel like, well, I care about you. I'm not just going to sit here and ignore your presence.
Well, a lot of times, like after going to shul in a new community, I would say, I would just comment like, you have such a beautiful community and shul was great today and so forth. And that might open up the door to some other conversation. But,
Right. Yeah.
Of course, when I went to Buenos Aires and Mexico City, you're welcome with armed guards in those towns.
Right.
Wow.
I ran into that when I traveled to Europe also, when I was in
Uh-huh. Yeah, sure.
Budapest. There were armed guards walking around in front of the shul.
Hmm.
Oh, you're saying armed guards in front of the shul.
Yeah, yeah, for protection. Some of the shuls have what they call those Jersey dividers to prevent cars from crashing into it.
Yeah, I saw that also.
Mm-hmm.
Those barricades. So
Yep,
somebody couldn't like make a sweep through.
right.
Wow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't wear my kippah. I wore my baseball cap.
Wow, wow. Okay. Very good. Now we go back to Roy. Do we have time? Oh, yeah, we have time. 11:20.
Okay.
11:20.
The hay, which is the last sif on this section, Clause 8.
Oh, okay.
Another example of confidential information. It is prohibited to disclose confidential information.
Mhm.
Chayav Adam Lahasir Hasod Asher V'Galeh Habaro Derech Sasor. One is obligated to conceal a private matter that his fellow Jew learned with him in a confidential manner. Afal pi she'ain bigaloi hasod hahu inyan reveals. Rechilus. Sorry. Oh well. Even if revealing the secret does not involve rechilus and will not bring about any discord between the listener and the one whose secret is being revealed, it is still forbidden to reveal it. Ki yesh bigalu hasod nazek livalov. Because divulging someone else's secret harms him. The sabah la hafer machashavto and causes his plans to be thwarted. Gam bezah hu yotze Niderach Neos. One who discloses another person's secret is also overstepping the boundaries of tzius, of modesty. V'hu ma'avir al da'as v'al hasod, and is betraying the other person's trust.
Mhm.
So I maintain that an example of this is a person's age.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody asked me how old somebody is. I will not say how old he is if I know. Because I that's a secret as far as I'm concerned. Even though he never said to me, it's a secret.
You're right.
It's private information.
Good point.
Yeah. Hmm. Right.
How do you know what's private and what isn't? Is common sense, or is there a list?
Well, that's a good question. In other words, Hayev Adam lahastir hasod asher yigala lo havero derek seser. Afal pi she'ein begilia sod. It seems to me that the way the Chofetz Chaim, the words that he's saying over here, if you look into the words, he's saying part of the reason that you know it's a sod is because in the way that the person who's revealing the secret about himself is telling it to you, and you could sort of read between the lines that by the way that he's revealing this information to you, that it is something that he regards as a secret that he's telling you, that he's confiding in you, and simply in the way that he's telling you about it, that you understand that it's something that he's confided in you, and he doesn't want you to say it any further, even if he doesn't say explicitly, please, don't tell anybody what I just told you. This is a secret. Davar zehu hamur harbe yoter mistam avak lashon hara v'rechilas. Kein muchach b'Rabbeinu Yonah sham ayin sham. Interesting. It is very noteworthy what Roy is bringing up over here, though. I would have thought that this would be a perfect place for the Chofetz Chaim to mention, and what would be to sort of like elaborate over here. I mean, do we mean to say he says he's going to the store now. You're not allowed to tell that to anybody that he's going to the store. How are you supposed to know that somebody would be, he would regard that as private information? He's going to the store. Everybody goes to the store. You have to buy things. You need bread and milk. You go to the store. Doesn't sound like something that's private information. But what if he tells you, that he's got, an investment in a Swiss bank? Is that something that he would? I would think that would be something that he wouldn't. That's information that is private. The things about a person's money are private, so he doesn't want. And even if he doesn't tell you, that would be private information. Different things about his, it's some people are not concerned about it. Some people might even want other people to know that they have a Swiss bank account, because it makes it sound like they're rich or something. And that's, as far as they're concerned, that's a very, it's a big covet if they're rich, So, but other people might not. I would think that a lot of other people would not want to be known. So you're asking. So how do you know? So it's a good question. So you know what? When in doubt, leave it out.
Well, on that maybe I want you to. I haven't got a Swiss account. Maybe that's also. I don't want you to know. But also on that point that there's when a person who's 80 enters the room, was it 70? You stand up. What's the age? As far as age goes, no, I'm not talking about knowledge. I'm not talking about knowledge. I'm talking about age. a certain age, you stand up for somebody.
Pasuk Mipnei Seva Takum. It's written on the Egged bus also.
So,
But what they mean over there, they mean is get up and get out of your seat and let this person sit down there.
mm,
So sometimes you have these wise guys, that they get up, they stand up, and then they just sit down again. That's not very nice.
No.
I'm not saying that happens. I hope that doesn't happen.
yeah.
I hope that they give people that need to have a seat to sit down, that they give them a seat to sit down. It's certainly a very big mitzvah for them to do so.
Yeah, but then you have to show your age. Some people at 80 look like much younger. Some look awfully old, and they're not of that age that you stand up.
Okay.
I'm just
I think I don't know. I personally am very happy to take the seat if a young person gets up for me.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good question, because I take the bus a lot, and I always wonder, should I get up? Like if I see someone who looks older than I am, even. I mean, I'm 71 and a half now, but I could stand on a bus. It's no problem.
Well, my
Yeah.
wife had an experience where someone contested a seat. Somebody got up to give the seat to my wife, and there was a lady next to her, and she said, "I'll take that seat. I'm older than you."
Oh, okay, so
And she said that. I mean, I would have loved my wife to have said, "Yeah, you look it," but that's fine. You deserve it.
so
Yeah.
I mean, you don't always know what the situation is.
All right. Anyway.
Yes, you could ask, let's say, I now know that Meir is 71
And a half.
And a half.
and a half. And he said it, he didn't say it like it sounded like it was a secret. He said it like he didn't really care whether anybody knows about it.
No, have you seen the billboards?
Let's say I happen to be on the bus and Meir comes on, and I say, okay, well, he's older than me and he's older than 70. So therefore I'm obligated to stand up for him. So I stand up and let him sit down. Now I've revealed to everybody on that bus
Right.
that he's over 70.
Hmm.
I presume that that's not a problem, but I'm just raising.
Well,
it's a possible problem that I've given away some private information about Meir.
on the other hand, on a bus, most people are looking at their cell phone, so you don't have to worry about that, Lou.
Baruch Hashem for the cell phones.
Kasha on a Maisa.
Right. Very good.
All right, I think our time's up.
Okay, very good.
Okay, Yashikoya, everybody.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Okay.
All the
do
best
well,
to
everyone.
Mayor.
Okay.
All right.
We ready for this afternoon?
No, I have a doctor's appointment at 5.
Oh, okay. All right.